Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Planetarium show. My name is Jessica. I am the director of the Planetarium, and with me tonight is one of the students who works in the Planetarium, who is probably a familiar face if you've been here before, but I will still let him introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Eli. I'm a physics and astronomy student at UMD.
So, tonight, since it is our first show of the month of March, we are going to be doing our What's Up show, telling you what you can find up in the skies this month. And then at the end, we also have a couple of cool little current event things, something that happened just today as well, which is really exciting. So, as I get set up, a note if you do have any questions throughout the show tonight, feel free to leave them down in the comments. Uh, Eli will be keeping an eye on those for me and will let me know as questions come up. If we don't get to them right away, we will have time at the end for questions as well. So let's get into it. And the very first thing that we are going to talk about for this month is the spring equinox. The vernal equinox is happening in a couple weeks on March 20th. So this day is called the equinox because it has roughly equal number of hours of daylight and nighttime, about 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, and generally marks the kind of transition from cold to warm or warm to cold, depending on if we're talking spring or fall equinox. Now, for the equinox, what's happening is the Earth on this day, its axis is straight up and down relative to its orbit, or at least from what we can see. And so neither side is really tilted towards or away from the sun. And that gives kind of an equal illumination to all of the Earth. But it's only for this one particular day because the Earth, oops, I meant to rearrange those slides. Let's go to this one first. Because the Earth's axis is tilted. It's tilted by about 23.5 degrees. And so as it orbits the sun, we kind of vary between being tilted towards or away, and that's what ultimately causes our seasons. So for the half of our orbit where we are tilted towards, that means the sun gets higher in the sky and it's up for longer periods of time, which is when it's warmer. And then we have the opposite on the other half of the year. And these equinoxes mark those transition points and why we get kind of equal amounts. It's the only day of the year, or one of 2 days of the year, the equinox, we'll say, the two equinoxes, are the only 2 days of the year for most people here on Earth where the sun actually rises due east and sets due west. Typically, throughout the year, the sun actually rises either a little north or south, or sets a little north or south of west. Um, and it also marks the kind of halfway point of the sun's altitude in our sky. With the sun, thank you, Quinn, with the sun getting very high in the sky in the summer and being much lower in the winter. So with our spring equinox, Quinn, my cat, is very excited for spring to roll around. Um, but with this, we now mark the continued transition to days getting longer and longer, which I know I'm already noticing, and I'm very happy for it not to be dark at 4:30 in the afternoon. But we're just going to see those days continue to get longer, the sun to continue to get higher, and the weather warming up for us. So winter is coming to an end. All right, moving on, let's take a look at what the moon is going to be doing this month. Of course, throughout the month, the moon transitions through its set of lunar phases. These are the four kind of main phases that it goes through, and the first one we're going to see this month is the third quarter, which is going to happen in just a couple days on March 5th. Then about a week after that, on March 13th, we'll have the new moon, which we don't actually see anything for. Then about a week after that, on March 21st, we have the first quarter moon. And then about a week after that, on March 28th, coming in at the end of the month, we will have our full moon, which for the month of March is known as the worm moon. I couldn't quite find an explanation as to why it's warm. I don't know if that has something to do with spring, but some of the others are also Crow Moon, and oh, I'm forgetting the other one. I didn't write it down, but there are some interesting some interesting names, and a lot of these names just delve from what's kind of happening or what typically was happening during that month. So it's always kind of fun to see what the name of the full moon for the month is going to be. You can also see here that I have noted when the sun, not the sun, when the moon is going to rise and set, so that you can kind of know the time of day or night that you will be able to see it, because the moon is not up at the same time every day. Sometimes it's up during the day, sometimes it's up during the night. It just depends on the particular phase.
Really quick, we got a question. How long ago did the moon form?
Oh, that is a really good question. So we think the moon formed pretty early on, not long after the Earth and the other planets formed. So probably about 4.5 billion years ago. All right.
Easy peasy.
Huh?
Easy peasy, right there.
Okay. So moving on from the moon, let's take a look at what planets are going to be visible. And unlike over the winter, where we had, I think, all of the planets that we could see at some point throughout the day, throughout March, that's not going to be the case. There are a few that we will not be seeing. But to start us off in the very early morning, pre-dawn sky, there are 3 planets that are making an appearance. We have Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn, which can all be seen kind of near the horizon in the kind of east-southeast sky. Quinn, thank you. Do you want to come say hi to people?
I think Quinn wants to be on camera.
I really think that she is trying to steal my spotlight today. Um, I will see if I can get her up here and appease her. Yes, come here. No? The joys of streaming from home, everyone. All right. Quinn, all right, we'll just let you yell in the background. So we have Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn visible up in the early morning sky. So this is pre-dawn, around 6 a.m. or so. They are pretty low, so if you have a lot of trees or mountains or hills or other houses, they may not be that easily visible. Mercury, the best day to see it is actually going to be in a couple of days on March 6th. And that's because it's reaching its greatest elongation. That means it's reaching the furthest that it gets from the sun. And that's when it's easiest to see it. And then after that, Mercury is going to start getting closer and closer to the sun again and will not really be visible for the second half of the month. For the second half of the month, we'll really only see Jupiter and Saturn up in the pre-dawn sky. But if we kind of zoom in here and take a closer look, you'll notice that Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn all form kind of a nice, neat line. They all follow this line across the sky that we call the ecliptic. And if you ever see other planets up at the same time, you'll notice that they do the same thing. All of the planets and even the moon seem to follow this same kind of ecliptic line across the sky. And that's not a coincidence. What we're seeing here is the fact that the planets in our solar system all lie in the same kind of disk or same plane, which we call the ecliptic plane. So they all have orbits very much oriented like Earth's orbit. And so we all see them follow that same kind of path across the sky. And that's why they're always along that ecliptic line. And same goes for the moon. The moon's orbit is pretty much in line with those of the planets, and so it stays near that ecliptic as well. All right, let's see. Venus is not going to be visible this month. Venus is in its way kind of passing the sun in its orbit from our view, so we will not be able to see it, but it should start to come out again in April, and it'll be up in the evening sky. It'll be back for a few months as our evening star. But heading on to the nighttime sky after sunset, there are two more planets that are up and visible. One that is very easy to see and has been up for a few months now is our red planet Mars. That is still visible from about sunset until about midnight, so we can see it over in the southwestern sky. And at the beginning of this month, it's going to be a really pretty sight as Mars kind of passes in between the Pleiades star cluster and the bright red eye, the star Aldebaran, which is the red eye of Taurus the Bull. So that's going to be a really cool just area of the sky to see all three of these there. And also makes it a little bit easier if you're questioning whether you're actually seeing Mars. It's right there in between Aldebaran and Pleiades. Or you can just find Pleiades and look left, and that next red thing you see will be Mars, and go a little bit further left, and that next one is the star Aldebaran.
So we just got a question. If Perseverance were to take a photo of Earth, what would Earth look like from the surface of Mars? And is Earth's moon too small to see without optical help from that distance?
So Earth would look pretty similar to how Mars looks to us. It'll be a little bit brighter because Earth is bigger than Mars is and it's closer to the sun, but it'll still look very much like the planets look to us. And yes, the moon is too small to be seen without any sort of optical instruments. I know that there are some pictures from the surface of Mars.
I think Opportunity took one.
Yeah, I think Curiosity has taken one too.
Oh, really?
If Eli, you'd be willing to find that, and then we can share that a little bit later.
Yeah, I can post a link to it in the
Yeah,
live stream.
that would be awesome. Yeah,
Yep.
that would be great. Yeah, so we'll get you a picture of that. But yeah, it would look like the planets look to us. So the other planet that's up in the evening that you can't really see here, even though it's labeled, is the planet Uranus. Now we're including this one because Uranus is just barely visible to the naked eye. It has a magnitude of about 5.8, and magnitude 6 is about the limit of the human eye if you have truly dark skies. So it's possible, but a little bit difficult. So ideally, you'd want to try and use a pair of binoculars or even a small telescope. And you still won't see much. It'll look like this kind of bluish green circle, but it is there and it is visible up in the evening sky. And then other than that, Neptune is also not visible right now. And so those are all of the, I'm just checking over my notes, those are all of the planets that
I just
are
got the picture posted in the chat.
awesome. So you can go take a look at that.
It's really interesting because the Mars's lack of an atmosphere, the skies are just like kind of like black. It's really weird. But yeah, there you go.
That's cool.
Looks kind of dusty.
Yeah, a lot of pictures from Mars do look kind of dusty.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have some winds and stuff and a lot of dust. All right, so that is where the planets are going to be and the planets that you can see this month. But there is one other thing that you can keep an eye out for, and that is passovers of the International Space Station. For us here in Duluth, we're going to get some really good passovers at the end of this month. You can see here we have the date and the brightness and magnitude. Magnitude is a little bit weird. When it's kind of the opposite of what you think. A smaller magnitude means brighter. And so the fact that these are negatives mean it's going to be a very bright passover. And here we have the times that those passovers are going to happen. Now, when we see the International Space Station or any other satellite pass over, what you see is this moving kind of point of light, like we're seeing right here, that will get a little bit brighter before eventually fading away again. And what we're actually seeing is the sunlight reflecting off of the satellite. And so it's a pretty good rule of thumb. If you see a moving light in the sky, if it's moving and blinking, it's a plane. But if it's moving and steady, or at least very gradually growing in brightness and dimming, not like blinking on and off, then it is a satellite. And you'd be surprised. You can see a couple of satellites just about any night if you're out in dark skies and just looking up for, an hour or so. They're a pretty common thing to see. If you do have a telescope or a pair of binoculars, you might get lucky and even be able to make out the shape of the International Space Station. This is a video that someone took through their telescope. It's difficult to do because it does move quite fast. So the best one of these is going to be March 21st. As it gets incredibly bright there, you can see. And the Passover is going to look kind of like this, where it's going to come in kind of the southwest, go almost directly overhead, and then pass back down over in the northeast. Now, for those who aren't in the Duluth area or want to just kind of know where you can find this information, all of this I got from a site called heavensabove.com, which I do have linked in the video description. And let me kind of show you this. This is a really cool site where you can put in your location up here, and then it gives you really not just the International Space Station, but other satellites as well. So if I click on ISS, it will show me the dates that the International Space Station are going to be visible from my location. And if you click on any of the particular dates, it will bring up that map, which will show you where in the sky it's going to be visible. So this is a really great resource, especially if you want to go out and try and catch this for yourself. All right. So moving on to a little bit of news. The thing that just happened today was SpaceX test flight of the SN10 Starship, which is the design that they're working on. It's kind of a reusable design to launch and bring humans back, and it has this kind of unique landing system. They've done 2 prior tests, the SN8 and the SN9. The flights themselves went well. The landing, not so well. Both of them came in a little bit too fast and had a crash landing. But just this afternoon, we had a, let me do this. We had a successful launch of the SN10. It's crazy to me. Some of these shots look like they should be like in a movie, like CG. But we had a successful launch. It did a successful maneuver where it did this kind of belly flop maneuver as it came back down. And then it turned itself around. And again, this is all live footage, raw footage. And had a successful touchdown. This is the first time that SpaceX has been able to do this, to have a successful touchdown of its Starship rocket. This is a huge moment and a huge victory for these scientists, and we're very excited. Now, the landing wasn't perfect. You can see here it's leaning just a little bit. It looks like some of its landing legs didn't fully deploy as expected. Although from my understanding, those landing legs are a work in progress already. They knew that they needed work. And then, unfortunately, not long after this, I believe about 10 minutes after it landed, it did end up exploding. I don't think I have seen a official statement. I think the current hypothesis is there because of that slightly rough landing. There was a methane leak that ended up catching fire, but this is still a huge success, and very excited for what this means from here on out. SpaceX is doing some really incredible things. Let's not do it again.
Is that the third one to blow up?
Yeah.
How much do each of those things cost?
I'm not sure, but honestly, the fact that they got it to land on their third try,
yeah, that's pretty impressive,
is amazing. I mean, it took their Falcon 9 had, I don't even remember how many attempts before they got that successful landing.
Yeah, and they cost $5 billion each. But they I remember the first time they got the that like remote boat landing.
Oh, the drone
right?
ship? Yeah.
Yeah, what is that thing called? It has a really funny name.
I don't remember.
It's like something I love you or something like that. Okay, I'm gonna get back to you on that.
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah. But yeah, so this just happened today. Huge success. Big congrats to all of the scientists. This is one of the designs that's in the work to carry NASA astronauts back to the moon for the Artemis mission. Elon and others are also looking to this design for private flights. In fact, the Japanese billionaire, I cannot pronounce his name, and I don't want to get it wrong, but he announced yesterday that he's opening a competition to bring 8 people with him on his flight to the moon that he's already reserved on the Starship with Elon. So you can go to Google and see about that if you want to enter that contest to be one of the 8 to go with him that they're saying is going to launch in 2023. We'll see. But yeah, huge success there.
Okay, so there are 2 drone ships that are active right now. There's the Of Course I Still Love You and the Just Read the Instructions.
Oh my god, I love that one.
Just read the instructions. I like that.
As a teacher, I love that one.
Just read the instructions. And then there's a 4th one that's coming called A Shortfall of Gravitas. I don't know what that gravity.
Nice. I like that.
Cool.
All right, so some other news. Just a few days ago, NASA announced that they are going to be naming a building after Mary W. Jackson, who was the first African American female engineer at NASA. She did some amazing work for NASA, and in fact, if you want to hear more about her and other the incredible women who worked for NASA in the early years, you can actually check out our show next week, as we're going to discuss a lot of those. And then lastly, I can't not talk about Perseverance again. Percy landed February 18th, and she is kind of going through her checks to get everything up and running, and in the meantime has sent back some stunning pictures from Mars. So here's a nice little kind of panorama taken. Here is a close-up of some rocks and soil, just like the detail is beautiful. And then another really cool shot of just kind of in the distance. And a lot of these are just kind of test shots to kind of make sure all of the cameras are working, get a good sense of where she landed, what's around her. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what Percy does. So yeah, that is what we got for the month of March. Are there any other questions?
Not seeing any questions, no.
No.
Someone took a stab at guessing the name of the drone ship, and they were close.
Oh yeah, you were close. I like it. All right. Well, if you do,
apparently those names are from some sci-fi books that I've never heard of.
I'm not surprised. I
Just reading.
wasn't.
What was that?
Go ahead.
They're the names of two sentient planet-sized starships which appear in the Player of Games novels.
I don't know of those, but that's really cool. All right. Let's. I will give you a minute. If you do have any other questions for us, now is a great time to leave them down in the comments. And I will tell you a little bit about what's coming up over the next week. So on Saturday, we will be doing our March constellation story time. You'll notice we didn't really talk about constellations that are up. We have an entirely other show we do for that, so we'll take you through that on Saturday. And then next Wednesday, we are starting our kind of three-part series for Women's History Month, where we were going to be doing the history of spaceflight, looking at some of the amazing women at NASA and elsewhere who helped get us off the planet and into space. And then in following weeks, we'll take a look at kind of the history of astronomy, which looks at the contributions of women to the field of astronomy. There's been a lot of amazing work that's been done that sadly they don't get credit for. And then we'll wrap up the month with a show on current women who are doing amazing things in STEM and astronomy. So we're very excited to be celebrating Women's History Month with this. And then next Saturday, we are going to do a tour of the moons of the solar system. We did get a kind of request for that, and that's one of the shows we've been trying to do somewhat regularly. So we'll go explore the awesome moons. Yeah. Anything else, Kevin?
Couple thank yous. Someone asked if there are any meteor showers coming up. The next one is the Lyrids, but
Which
that
is
one,
in April.
right? That one's not going to be super strong because the moon is going to be pretty bright around then, and it's not a very strong one anyway. The next, like, really big one to keep your eyes peeled for is the Perseids, which are in July, I think.
Yes.
Late July, yeah.
August.
I think like end of July.
Yeah, end of July, beginning of August, somewhere out there. Yeah.
Yep. From July, it's going to peak on August 11th.
Yep. Because it's usually when we do dark sky, is around then.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Totally forgot about that.
I know. A couple of other things for those maybe you'd like to kind of have a private show with us. We are offering private virtual shows. We've done quite a few of them, both field trips and other groups, birthday parties, things like that. It's been a lot of fun. And so you can always look to our website for more information on that. And I'm gonna just go ahead and show this because I want to.
Yeah.
I've been working on a new T-shirt design that's going to be coming out very soon, and it's gonna look kind of like that. I learned Photoshop. I'm proud of
I'm on
myself.
the stream delay, so I'm waiting for the picture to come up. I hope my drum roll was timed appropriately. Wait, which one are you showing? Yeah, that one's sweet.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, have you changed it since you showed us last? The stars look a little more like glowy.
It may not have just come through yesterday
Okay.
when I showed it, but yeah. Yeah, I'm proud of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You did it all yourself?
Yep.
That's awesome.
I learned Photoshop.
That's so sweet.
I had a lot of fun with it, and hopefully you guys like it too. We will post information once we have that live. We'll have a couple of other t-shirts as well. One, the solar distancing shirt will keep selling, and then we're also going to have a simple, just kind of our logo as well. And then the only other thing to keep up with is very soon we will be announcing what we'll be doing for Astronomy Day this year. It's going to look a bit different. But we're hoping to do something similar to what we did for Halloween, where we put together some fun little mini activity kits, and you can come by, pick them up, talk with us. We will have a couple of demos that you can safely watch from, socially distanced away, and just kind of come out. We're looking at May so that the weather's nice, so that we can all just kind of hang out outside for a little while. So yeah, we'll have more information about that out soon as well. I think that's everything. And I think I need to stop talking before I give away all of our secrets.
Keep the evil plans to ourselves. Plans for domination.
We will take over the world. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us. If you liked the show, definitely come check us out again. We stream regularly on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central. Yeah, thanks again. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Okay.